Hey folks, welcome to part 2 of my interview with Chris Flo.
Yes,
and
sir.
thanks again. I really appreciate you
Love
sharing
it.
with us.
Yes, sir.
I've learned so much. So in part 1, which there'll be a link to on the screen, okay, and if you're listening to the audio version, you can find it in the iTunes podcast, part 1. We went over a bunch of material. We're talking about the emotional connection to movement.
Yep.
And so in this part, I actually just wanted to start off by sharing what I thought for the first basically 50 years of my life. You know, so I was probably late 40s, really. Like
what is exercise?
48, 49 years old. I spent literally, when I did decide to exercise, before I really gained a whole lot of weight, just went off on the deep end on eating poorly and a bunch of other stuff. When I was trying to be what I thought was healthy and fit and strong, my idea with exercise was go to the free weight area and just muscle everything, just push a lot, as much weight as I could.
Right.
And so move forward a few years as I get into training, going through these different, talking with people like you and Dr. Perry and Dr. Emily, and I've learned so much more about movement, and what I found is I never go to a gym anymore. And I'm not saying don't go to a gym. I'm not saying that, and I'm not saying don't lift weights. But the more I move, the better I feel.
Right.
I feel like it freed me up somehow.
Right.
And what do you find people? Do you find that people are thinking of exercise as some strict set of rules?
Yes. I think people find exercise as something that's linear. Right, it's like I'm going to work out, I'm going to go in this rep, and a workout means this. Like a workout means I'm exhausted, I'm puking. For different people, it means different things. I'm dropped on the floor, I'm pouring in sweat, I can't feel my arms the next day, I can't walk. I mean, you see all the posts for like leg day. Everything's like, oh, hashtag leg day, I can't walk up the stairs. Like, you know what I mean? That's not all it is. On the outside looking in, you look at statistics, and it's one of those things where the obesity rate's rising. We're failing as a community. We're failing as an industry. Really bad. Because just because we can do these things, they feel like everyone should do them, and that's just the wrong way of doing it. So I feel like what you were talking about, and I don't want to be like the person who doesn't like weightlifting. I still lift, I still deadlift, I still bench press, I still all these things, but that's not my main focus. And I think that people, when they're stuck physically, as we talked about in part 1, cognitive function, emotion, and movement's all in the same part of the brain. If they're stuck physically, they're going to be stuck mentally and emotionally. And that's why you see a lot of guys who are just massive guys who lift, and they can't touch their arm, they can't do this. And sometimes, a lot of times, they're stuck up here.
Yeah.
On the flip side, you see bodybuilders who can do a split, who can move their body, who are brilliant. Like I always tell people, bodybuilders are the most brilliant people when it comes to nutrition and their bodies, because they just it's a science. Like, oh, if I eat 2 things of asparagus, I'll weigh 0.89. Like, they measure their food. Like, they're brilliant. A lot of the real bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Not the guy who goes to your local gym, does some roids or something, and calls himself a bodybuilder. Like, there's a real science to this, and some of these people have no idea what they're doing. But I feel like a lot of those people, they're stuck, and they feel like this image of lifting, this is what the pinnacle is. And if they can't move, they can't think, then they don't do the research to be smarter or whatever, better at it, and they still don't feel fulfilled within here. So they're still searching to lift more to feel fulfilled here, but they're not realizing that's a vicious cycle the wrong way.
Yeah.
Whereas when you get into the more movement practices and understanding your body and letting it kind of flow, then you get clear here, and you feel better here. So now it's a positive cycle almost. And that's why your yogis and so many people they're like, namaste, and they're so happy, and that they're following vibration levels and everything else because they're in this cycle.
Yeah.
And the thing is how we bridge this gap. How do we get these guys who aren't doing this to come on this end, and how do we get people who are just caught up in this to start lifting? Because there's still such a benefit to weightlifting.
Absolutely.
There's so much benefit to strength training and all these other things. And I think people do one or the other, all or nothing principle, as opposed to let me take everything from everybody and just make it awesome.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Going back to what I used to do, so as I broke away from just lifting, because I wasn't doing cardio in those days,
Right.
And now my cardio is actually, I'm really proud of it.
Nice. It's really good.
I mean, I have a long ways to go in everything, but
Right.
when I got into that, it enhanced my body weight exercise. Right now, I've kind of been into mostly body weight stuff for resistance.
Right.
And, occasionally I do lift some weights,
Right.
but they enhance each other. So touching back on what you just said, and also in the end of part one, you were talking about if you always do this, maybe go do that. For example, bodybuilder, go to a Zumba class.
Right, yeah.
So I actually sat in on a Zumba class for the first time ever a few weeks ago, and I'm there and I'm moving, and I was actually mortified for about the first 2 or 3 minutes,
right,
until I realized that this is what everyone here is doing.
Yeah.
They're having a really good time.
Everyone's twerking.
And I ended up having a good time, and I couldn't even believe it. I'm like, you're kidding me. I'm doing Zumba.
That's it.
But, you know, it's actually really cool.
Yeah. It feels amazing, right? It felt good.
I wouldn't do it every day, but you know what? It was good to do it. I wouldn't mind doing it again.
You gotta let it go, and you gotta be, and that's one of the things we talked about before, you gotta be vulnerable. Let yourself be vulnerable. Let yourself be bad at it. And then you'll feel like this release. Because right now we're in this world where everybody wants to be so uptight about everything.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable. Let it kind of happen and enjoy it and enjoy the process of it. And the other thing is, we haven't touched upon yet, is how this all affects your creativity. Because a lot of times you'll go into a gym and so much things are taken, and we're like, what am I going to do? I don't have my weight rack. But what can I do outside of that? And then that creativity helps you develop your own kind of workouts. Like, oh my God, I never thought you could do a broomstick exercise like this.
Yeah,
or I never thought to use a valve slide or a towel on the floor instead of a valve slide, you know? So that creativity part then helps you better as a trainer, helps you better in your life. How can I use something and not look at it as a fixed object? What else can it be used for?
Yeah,
so that's a
really
whole other
cool
aspect of how that helps.
That's awesome. Well, this has been really, really great. Before we sign off here, any message you want to get out to people? You know, just something, anything you want to say at all before we sign off?
I'll say two things, and these are my two basic sayings what I love. First one is be so good they can't ignore you. And people always come to me, how do I do this? How do I do that? Be the best at it. Research it. Study it. Go to Barnes & Noble. Buy a bunch of books on the subject you want to be good at, and then be the best at that. Because that will open other opportunities. The second thing is, standard, fail forward. Keep failing. If this didn't work out, keep going. That didn't work out, keep going. If you fail forward, eventually you'll find your way. But I think people are so scared to fail that they never take that chance. And I think that's what a lot of people are missing.
Isn't there a book called like John Maxwell or somebody failing forward?
I'm sure there is.
I
haven't read a lot of John's stuff, but I've seen it.
I have that book actually, and I read it a long time ago. But it was at a point in my life where I wasn't ready to receive the information. Now that you mentioned it, I've got to get
back
into the boxes of books and see if I can find it, because failing forward it's an awesome idea. I love how you talk about, you know, do something and just allow yourself to be bad at it too.
Yeah. Enjoy it, embrace it.
Yeah, I think that's great. So to find Chris, you want to go to flowfitnessbh.com. There'll be a link on the screen.
Yep.
All right.
That's our website.
And again, this has been a real pleasure for me.
It's been awesome, man.
Eye-opening for me. I learned a lot. Now I have some books to read. I've got, you know, a lot of thinking to do, how I can implement more of this into my own life, my own workouts, my own daily activities, basically. You know, and with clients too. Starting to think about the clients. How
That's
we
it,
start
man.
to approach
It's
that.
all meant to spark ideas, to spark thought, to spark intrigue, and then you create something from it.
Especially when you feel good when you're doing something, you know, feeling good, having fun. Workouts are work, right? But if you can enjoy them, it makes so much difference. And clients too. For trainers out there, obviously, you know, if your clients enjoy what you're doing, you want to keep them working, but they're gonna stay with you longer. There's more benefit to it, because they'll probably show up more often.
Exactly. If they're having fun, and that's the thing. Get out the mindset of thinking about working out and start thinking about training.
Yeah.
I'm training for something. I'm training to be a better person. I'm training to be a better father. I'm training to be a better mother.
I love that.
Training. So if I'm training for that, then there's no physical attachment or end goal to it. I'm never going to be the greatest, but I want to be that.
I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank
Chris.
you, sir. It's been a pleasure, man.
Be sure to check out flowfitnessbh.com. Also visit sterlinghealthfitness.com. Check out our content there. We have lots of great interviews. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.